The second pregnancy came a year later. The village was cautious this time. Joy was measured. Adese carried the child carefully, obeying every rule, avoiding every taboo. Still, the child was born without breath, perfect fingers, closed eyes. Still, the third pregnancy ended before it truly began. Adese stopped counting months. She stopped smiling easily. Her laughter faded into politeness. Ukwinya was not a cruel village, but it was a village that talked. She is not fruitful. Obinna married wrongly. Some women carry sweetness, others carry dust. Adese heard the whispers even when they were not meant for her. Obinna heard them too, and slowly he began to believe them. Obinna started drinking. At first, it was palm wine with friends. Then it became something stronger, taken alone. When he spoke to Adese, his voice sharpened. "You are hiding something," he accused one night. "What would I hide?" she asked, frightened. "You brought something into this house," he said. "Something bad." Adese froze. She thought of the wedding night, the strange cold, the flickering lamp. She shook her head. "I don't know what you mean." But Obinna no longer believed her innocence. Nkiru watched everything unfold. She helped bury the tiny bodies. She comforted Adese. She listened to Obinna's anger from the edge of the compound. At night, she could not sleep. Her dreams were filled with rivers running backward. She considered telling the truth. But what truth? She had not meant harm. She had trusted the words of an old woman. And yet children were dead. She carried guilt like a second skin. Desperate, Adese visited the family shrine. She knelt before the ancestors, tears streaming down her face. "What have I done wrong?" she cried. That night, she dreamt of her late mother-in-law standing silently beside a closed womb. No words were spoken. The message was clear. After the third loss, Obinna moved out of their room. He slept in the outer house. When Adese tried to follow him, he shouted, "You bring death to my bed." The words shattered her. She ran back to Nkiru's arms, sobbing. "Sister," she cried, "what did I do?" Nkiru held her tightly. She had no answer. Unable to bear it any longer, Nkiru returned to Mama Udo. The old woman listened quietly. "When ignorance walks with jealousy," Mama Udo said, "they give birth to consequences." "I didn't know," Nkiru whispered. Mama Udo nodded. "Poison does not always come from intention." Nkiru fell to her knees. "Can it be undone?" Mama Udo was silent for a long time. "Only truth opens closed paths," she said finally, "and truth has a price." By the 4th year, the marriage was broken in spirit. Obinna avoided Adese. Adese avoided the world. The house felt cold even in heat. Neighbors stopped visiting. The joy that once surrounded the union had turned into pity. And through it all, Nkiru watched, knowing she was at the center of something she never meant to create. One evening, Adeze visited her parents' home. She looked at Nkiru with red, swollen eyes. "Sister," she asked quietly, "did you ever do something for me that I don't know about?" Nkiru's breath caught. The truth pressed hard against her chest. Begging to be released, she opened her mouth and closed it. "Nothing," she said. Adayez nodded slowly, but doubt had already entered her heart. That night, Nkiru dreamed again. This time, the calabash was empty. The river was red. A voice whispered, "You cannot pretend anymore." She woke, trembling. Somewhere between silence and confession, fate waited, and it was no longer patient. Adez had not dreamed in years. Sleep came to her in heavy blocks, dark, empty, without images. It was the only time her heart found rest. Then, one night, the dreams returned. She stood in her old childhood compound, barefoot, the earth cool beneath her feet. The sky above was neither day nor night. Her mother stood near the family shrine, her wrapper clean, her face calm, but her eyes carried a weight Adeze had never seen before. "My child," her mother said gently, "you have been drinking from a cup that was not meant for you." Adeze tried to speak, but her mouth would not open. Her mother pointed toward the shrine. Hanging from it was a cracked calabash, dripping slowly onto the ground. Each drop sounded like a heartbeat. Thud, thud, thud. Adeze woke up screaming. Unlike other dreams, this one stayed. Adeze carried it through the day like a shadow. The image of the cracked calabash refused to leave her mind. She remembered the night before her wedding, the clay pot, the bitter taste, her sister's steady voice. Tradition often does. A tremor ran through her body. She tried to dismiss it, but the ancestors had already planted the seed. That same week, strange things began happening. The oil lamp in Obinna's house would not stay lit. Each time Adeze tried to light it, the flame bent sideways, then died. On the third night, Adeze dreamed again. This time, she stood beside a river. The water was dark and still. Tiny bundles floated past her feet, wrapped in white cloth. She knew without being told what they were. Her knees buckled. From across the river, a voice called, "Ask the one who poured." Adeze woke up shaking violently. For the first time since her marriage, Adeze looked at her sister differently. She noticed the way Nkiru avoided her eyes, the way her hands shook when pregnancy was mentioned, the way guilt seemed to cling to her like smoke. Adeze's heart broke, not with anger, but confusion. Could it be? The thought felt dangerous. She did not want to believe it. Unable to sleep, Adeze went to the family shrine before dawn. She knelt, pressed her forehead to the earth, and spoke honestly. "If I have offended you, show me," she whispered. "If I am innocent, defend me." The wind rose suddenly. The cracked calabash fell from the shrine and shattered at her feet. Inside it, dry herbs that smelled exactly like the drink from her wedding night. Adeze froze. That day, she confronted her mother. "Mama," she asked carefully, "did Nkiru give you anything before my wedding?" The old woman stiffened. "She brought something," she said slowly. "Said it was for peace." Adeze felt the ground tilt. Peace. The word tasted bitter. That same night, the ancestors visited Nkiru. She found herself kneeling at Mama Udo's hut. The forest was burning, but not with fire, with ice. Every tree stared at her. Mama Udo stood before her, younger, taller, terrifying. "You thought ignorance would shield you," the woman said. "I didn't know," Nkiru sobbed. "But you assumed," the voice replied, "and assumptions carry weight." From the shadows, 3 small figures stepped forward. They did not cry. They simply looked at her. Nkiru woke screaming, clawing at her chest. The next morning, Adeze came to Nkiru's room unannounced. She placed the broken calabash on the mat. "Tell me the truth," she said quietly. Nkiru stared at it. Her mouth opened. No words came. Outside, thunder rolled out of season. Just before Nkiru could open her mouth again, Adeze stood over her sister. Her voice was calm but deadly serious. "Sister," she said, "what did you give me the night before my wedding?" Nkiru looked at her, really looked. For the first time, she understood something terrible. Silence had already killed more than truth ever could. Her lips trembled, and somewhere between fear and release, the confession waited. The room was still, so still that Nkiru could hear her own breathing, shallow and uneven. Adeze stood before her, eyes steady, the broken calabash between them like an accusation carved from clay. Outside, the first birds of morning began to stir, unaware that a family was about to fall apart. "What did you give me?" Adeze asked again. Nkiru's lips trembled. She had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her head, confession softened by explanation, truth wrapped in intention. But now that it stood before her, naked and demanding, she realized there was no gentle way to say it. I went to Mama Udo," she whispered. Adeze did not move. "I didn't want to harm you," Nkiru continued quickly, desperation sharpening her voice. "I swear it. I only wanted peace. Balance. I thought—" "You thought what?" Adeze interrupted. Nkiru swallowed hard. "I thought maybe something unseen needed to be settled before your marriage began." Adeze laughed once, a broken sound that did not carry humor. "And my children?" she asked quietly. "Were they unseen too?" The words landed like stones. Nkiru fell to her knees. "I didn't know," she sobbed. "I didn't know it would touch them. I didn't even know it would do anything at all." Adeze sat slowly on the mat opposite her sister. "Tell me everything," she said, and Nkiru did. She spoke of the assumptions she had carried silently for years. The closeness with Obinna that grew into hope without words. The shame of realizing too late that nothing had ever been promised. She spoke of the jealousy she never named. The resentment she pretended did not exist. The visit to Mama Udo, the clay pot, the warning she believed she understood. "I didn't hate you," she said through tears. "I hated how easily life chose you. I hated how invisible I felt." Adeze listened without interrupting. When Nkiru finished, the room felt hollow. For a long time, Adeze said nothing. She stared at the floor, her hands resting loosely in her lap. Then she spoke. "You know what hurts the most," she said softly. "It's not the losses. It's not even Obinna's cruelty." She looked up. "It's that you let me drink it." And Nkiru flinched. "I trusted you," Adeze continued. "I trusted you more than anyone in this world, and you watched me swallow something you did not fully understand." Tears finally slid down Adeze's face. Not loudly, not dramatically, just steadily. Mama Nkiru had been standing outside the room. She had heard everything. When she entered, her face looked older than it had the day before. "You both carry my blood," she said hoarsely. "And now that blood is divided." She turned to Nkiru. "Your silence raised this disaster," she said, "and your assumption fed it." Then she turned to Adeze. "And your suffering has been heavy beyond words." She sank to the floor. "The ancestors are angry," she whispered. By evening, Obinna knew. He stood rigidly as Adeze told him, her voice flat, stripped of emotion. Nkiru could not bring herself to look at him. "So it was your doing," Obinna said slowly. "I didn't intend," Nkiru began. "Intent does not bury children," Obinna snapped. The room fell silent. "I blamed my wife," he continued bitterly. "I called her cursed. I abandoned her bed. And all this time," he stopped himself, anger drained from his face, replaced by something worse. Shame. That night, the elders were called. Mama Udo was summoned. The shrine was opened. The ancestors did not speak through dreams this time. They spoke through consequence. Mama Udo knelt before them, her voice firm. "The binding must be broken," she said. "But nothing breaks without exchange." Adeze's heart pounded. "What must be paid?" she asked. Mama Udo looked at Nkiru. "Truth has already begun the payment," she said, "but it is not enough." The elders deliberated in silence. Finally, the oldest among them spoke. "Nkiru did not intend death," he said. "But intention does not erase impact." Nkiru bowed her head. "She will carry what she caused," the elder continued, "not through death, but through living." Nkiru looked up, confused. "She will never bear children of her own," the elder declared, "and she will remain to witness the healing of the womb she harmed." The words struck like thunder. Adeze gasped. Nkiru did not scream. She nodded. It felt right. At dawn, Mama Udo prepared the counter-ritual. Adeze drank not fearfully this time, but resolutely. The herbs burned her throat. Pain tore through her body like fire. She screamed, and somewhere unseen, something loosened. The air shifted. By morning, the house felt different, lighter, but not healed. Obinna moved back into the room, but something between them had died. Trust does not return just because truth arrives. Nkiru packed her things. "I will stay nearby," she said quietly. "If you allow it." Adeze did not answer. She needed time. That night, Nkiru stood alone at the edge of the compound. She felt empty. But emptiness was honest. For the first time, she was not hiding behind silence. And though the price was unbearable, the weight on her chest had lifted. Somewhere behind her, Adeze touched her womb gently and whispered, "Let this suffering mean something." The ancestors listened. The village awoke to a brighter sun after the ritual. Adeze felt different, lighter, though her heart was cautious. The shadows that had clung to her body for years had thinned, leaving room for hope, though it was fragile. Obinna stood beside her, silent. He did not speak easily, did not laugh the way he used to. Trust, he realized, is not restored with explanations alone. Nkiru did not return to her mother's house. She could not. She would always be the sister who carried the weight of unintentional destruction. She found a small hut near the edge of the village and stayed there. From a distance, she watched Adeze's home, watched the laughter slowly return. Some nights, she dreamt of tiny figures floating in a river, but instead of sadness, they smiled at her small, gentle forgiveness. She touched her womb gently, knowing what the elders had said. She would never have children of her own, and yet, somehow, she accepted it. Her life would be defined by care, observation, and reflection. She would witness healing even if she could never join it fully. The first months were uncertain. Adeze's body healed. She became pregnant again, this time, without fear, without shadow. The village rejoiced. Carefully, quietly, Obinna stayed present, a cautious but steady partner. They named their child Chika, God's own, and it was a name heavy with gratitude and remembrance. When Nkiru saw the baby for the first time, she wept silently. Not tears of regret, not tears of sorrow, tears of relief. The ancestors had allowed restoration. Adeze never fully stopped blaming her sister, but she understood the difference between intention and outcome. She accepted that the sister she loved most had acted from ignorance and hope, not malice. And in that acceptance, a fragile reconciliation formed. She held Nkiru's hand the night her child was born, murmuring, "You are part of this life too." Nkiru smiled through tears. The burden did not vanish, but it was shared now, lightly. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.